telling stories about the Lands of Dream for years now, and it's become very important to us. We make these games really just because we love them, but the fact that other people also love them is remarkable, and the fact that so many people have come to care for these characters and these stories and these places that we've created is a huge inspiration to us, and it very often has been what has kept us going during times that were less than easy. There have been a number of times when I wanted to quit. Being an independent game developer is hard, and when you try to do things that are a bit, unusual, then it can be even harder. And many times I've thought, I can't keep going. I can't do this. This is too little money, too much work, too much frustration, because you obviously care about what you make. So the fact that so many people cared specifically about these games and said, no, please don't stop. I want to play another Lands of Dream game. I want to go back there. That's helped enormously over the years, and it's a big part of why I want to finish this. I want to make this game that, while it won't necessarily be the last Lands of Dream game, it is the end of a cycle. So, for those of you who are new to the Lands of Dream, what are they about? Well, they're a setting, of course, a setting of a series of stories and games. But as a place, they are the world of imagination. They are the place where everything that's ever been imagined, and many things that have yet to be imagined, are real. They're a kind of afterlife, but they're not heaven. You can find bright things as well as dark things, dangerous things. You can meet mythological beings, dead authors, talking mushrooms, all kinds of things. They're not a happy place. They are beautiful and bittersweet, much like life. And they are sometimes under threat. In many of these stories by Horizon, a figure from the mythology of William Blake, sort of god of order, or in this case, false reason. We've made 4 games about the Lands of Dream. A strange and somewhat sinister tale of the house at Desert Bridge, endless title, which was the first one. Then The Book of Living Magic, a sort of fairy tale. The Fabulous Screech, the story of a cat. And The Sea Will Claim Everything, which is the biggest one and the first commercial game to be set in that world, because it's enormous and really there was no other way of making it. We've also created something called the Neuropolis Compendium, which is a sort of collection of stories and images from the Lands of Dream. Neuropolis is the capital of the Lands of Dream, City of Dreams. In terms of what these games are like, the truth is, it's best to play them, because whatever they've got that makes people love them doesn't translate to screenshots or videos. It really doesn't. It only exists in that sort of interactive format. But I'll give you a summary. They're basically adventure games, point-and-click adventure games, fairly simple, and instead of having an emphasis on puzzles, they have an emphasis on people and places and on story. But it's really about being there, that's it. It's not about, finding that object and combining it with that object and combining it with the other object to make a mushroom that smells flowers and putting it in the conductor's butt and, adventure games. No, it's not about that. It's about being in these places and experiencing these stories and enjoying the process of that, and enjoying the exploration of spaces and finding little details that are fun, of which the games are absolutely full of. If there's one thing that people always remark upon, is the fact that every single hotspot in these games has a separate description, and that's a big part of the fun. Every single book in a library will have a separate title, and every single one of them will be a reference to something, a joke, and an enormous amount of care goes into this, and it's really what people love. I don't know if that sounds interesting if I just say it, but if you see it, it's like there's a living world there, a world in which every single detail has a reality of its own.
And the style itself, that's a conscious choice, having this fairy tale-like approach, because it's almost like a children's book, and just like you felt when you were a child when you turned the page of your favorite story, there's always this feeling of this could go anywhere. This transports you to a place where your disbelief is completely suspended. That's actually something that we also hear from a lot of people who played the previous games. In a way, it's almost like you're 6 years old again and you're reading that story for the first time, and it's amazing and anything can happen. No matter where this game takes you, you just are willing to go along with it.
And a more realistic style that we would be capable of in theory simply wouldn't be able to give that magical feeling, because if you see the reviews, they always mention a sense of wonder about these games. And sometimes a review will say, well, the graphics are kind of strange, but the game has such a sense of wonder. You know, that's why. That's a very big part of why. Ithaka of the Clouds is inspired very strongly by the poetry of Kyratzes, a Greek poet, who wrote absolutely beautiful poetry that, very much like our game, doesn't translate very well. If you translate it into English, it just loses its beauty. It's got this simple elegance that really just, I mean, English is a beautiful language. That's why I'm writing in it, but somehow this poetry doesn't really translate. But it's inspired me very much. It's very important to me. And somehow I was sitting there and I'd been thinking about a game about a troll for a long time. I wanted to make a game about trolls because they are these outsider creatures in our mythology, and they've become sort of, you know, even more villainous in sort of pop culture now. And that attracts me, that, you know, telling a story about creatures like that. I thought it'd be interesting to tell a story from their perspective. And then it sort of became the story of two trolls. I thought, you know, a couple. We'll make a story about a couple, a love story. And then suddenly I realized that somehow all my ideas overlapped with the poetry of Kyratzes, with his erotic poetry, with his poetry about history and about philosophy, and all these things somehow suddenly coalesced into a shape. And so it became the story of a journey, the journey of two lovers across the lands of dream to find this legendary city of Ithaka of the Clouds. And it was a very strange thing how it all came together, and suddenly, you know, one day I had all these sort of vague elements floating around, and we talked about it a bit in there, but I didn't really know what we were doing, and then suddenly it was all there. Of course, there's going to be an incredible amount of you know, small details or big details. The road isn't exactly known, but we know where we're going. Very much like the characters, we have an idea of the destination, but of course the road is always full of surprises, and that's how it should be. But what will it be like as a game, right? Except for being a game about two gay trolls inspired by poetry that you're probably never going to read. Well, it'll be a point-and-click adventure game, much like the others. The gameplay will be simple and accessible, but perhaps a bit more complex than previously. Meaning, I'm still not going to do a lot of puzzles. I'm not very interested in having these extremely complicated and kind of arbitrary puzzles. It'll still be more about being there and interacting with the world, but I think I'm going to add a bit more to that than in other games, meaning I would like to put multiple solutions to certain problems that the characters face. Not, you know, Mass Effect style, just various ways of going about things. There'll be an element of crafting, because trolls are builders and makers. Not, you know, it's not going to be Minecraft or Terraria, but there will be an element of that, which has already existed in some of the previous games a little, but here it will be more involved. And I think that should be a lot of fun, especially because of the things that you can make that don't actually do anything, like using the alchemy machine to create a bear, which you can do. But you shouldn't. What'll also be different, a little, is that the previous games tended to have sort of a hub structure. They were very open-ended and you could go anywhere, and that was a great deal of fun, but also very complicated in terms of, oh, I have to get the item from here, put it over there, and then what did I do here? It can get complex. Thankfully, Sea will Claim Everything already sort of tracked what you still had to do. Oh, so did Book of Living Magic. Ha! Brilliant. Since this one is about a journey, it'll be more about moving forward. Now, in each area, there will still be a lot of openness, a lot of exploration, and so on and so forth. Because that's what I find fun personally, just, you know, exploring a place, interacting with it. You'll be playing 2 characters in this game, with different skills, different personalities. Most of the time they'll be together, so it won't make that much of a difference, but it will be there in the gameplay, it will be there in the story. And I'm not going to reveal too much about it, because that would spoil all the fun. But it's also not going to be like the central gimmick of the game. It will be central to the themes of the story, and obviously to the events of the story, but you're not constantly going to have to juggle 2 characters in irritating ways.
We've explored a lot of different environments in the previous games, and somehow, since this is also probably going to be the culmination of the Lands of Dream games, we're going to explore all these territories and lots more. So we're going to go to snowy places and to mountainous places and to forests and rainforests and deserts. I love deserts. And to islands and oceans and marshes and anything that we can come up with. For me, that's also always a very fun thing to do. I'll sit down and say, okay, I'm going to draw a forest. And as I'm drawing the forest, I'm drawing a branch on a tree, and I think that looks kind of naked. And so what do? Maybe we put a bird's nest in there, or an owl or something. And then I approach Jonas with a finished image, and I say, oh, by the way, there's an owl in that image. And he'll say, oh, cool, that's going to be a character. And these little details, they're quite spontaneous in a way, but that's also where the fun is. And of course, all the mushrooms and the flowers and the weird plants, just cramming as much detail in these little corners between the trees and the rocks and the mountains as is possible. That's a lot of fun for me. Now, when we knew that as soon as we knew that we were going to make this game about a troll, and then as it developed there were 2 trolls, we knew that we wanted to come up with something unique for the trolls. We looked at a lot of descriptions from fairy tales and legends of what a troll looks like, and we came up with dozens of different descriptions. And right now we're at a point where we have a very good idea of what the troll is supposed to look like. And we also came up with a couple of other weird creatures because, well, not everything that came out actually looked like a troll. We have Salad Man. I like Salad Man.
So you may ask, what will you do with the money? Well, mostly we'll use it to work. That's a very big part of it. Oh, cat! Come on in. Okay, most of the money will go to this thing. She eats all our money. Money, money. Yeah, so most of the money will go to cat food. That's the sad truth. We actually want all of this money for cat food, and we'll just have like a few euros left over that we'll give to our composer. And the rest is just cat food. Tuna every day. Okay, in all seriousness, a lot of the money will go to paying our work, because it's 6 to 8 months of work, and I think it'd be nice to be able to give our composer some money up front so he can actually, live, that sort of thing. But there's also money that will go to other things like the materials, all the paper, the various paints and colors and things. Money will go to... Yes, you're yawning. It's wonderful. Then there's various software licenses that have to be paid for, and related boring costs of the production kind. Some of the money will just go to Indiegogo and PayPal and banks and all these other things. And then quite a bit of the money will also go to producing the various things associated with the perks. Now, if we get more money than we asked for, which would be lovely, absolutely lovely, we would use that to go back and sort of tidy up the older Lands of Dream games, meaning especially Desert Bridge and the Book of Living Magic, which have some flaws. In the case of Desert Bridge, the fact that it doesn't run on a lot of modern computers, and Book of Living Magic was kind of an in-between game that we really love, but that we think we could improve in significant ways. And it'd be very lovely to be able to go back and fix them up, and they'll be free, of course, they'll remain free, but it'd be a very nice thing to do for the Lands of Dream as a whole. Finally, I realized this isn't the normal sort of pitch video. We can't really give you a nice list of features or show you, gameplay footage of the kind that you could if it was another type of game. But we've been making these games really for years now, and I think we have a history that you can look at, and you can see that people have cared about these games quite strongly, and we care about these games very, very strongly. And I think if you help us, we can create something that's just entirely unique. It'll be flawed. I think that's fair to say. It will be kind of weird, not everyone's cup of tea, but it will be something that people will care about, something that they'll remember, something that I think is worth creating. So, I hope you support us. So does the cat. Especially the cat, because she wants tuna. She cares about nothing she cares about nothing except tuna. It's all tuna, tuna, tuna. Chicken, sometimes chicken. Chicken is good, tuna is better. Get me chicken, get me tuna, get me more tuna, get me chicken. Never anything else. Never writes, never calls.